Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the DeepOken podcast. I am here joined by Mr. Turtle.
Was good.
And so today's video will be about things we would like to see in DeepOken, or rather, more so, things that we think would be interesting in DeepOken. Now, these are 100% theoretical and are not suggestions or things that are going to be added, but it's just things that would be interesting. So I do have some notes here, and the first topic that I have is customization items having buffs and drawbacks. So for example, if you had like a ring, you could have like a ring that would give you fire resistance, but it would also give you like ice weakness. So Mr. Turtle, since you came up with this idea, you should elaborate on it a little bit.
The reason why I came up with it is because I really like the idea of gear giving you some benefits, especially in like MMORPGs, Rogue, etc. And the reason why I think it would be interesting because it would allow us to customize our build even further than what we've been already shown. So far, we only been shown like stats, what they could affect, etc., as well as certain weapons. But if we add gear onto that, other than just armor, I think it would allow players to be really creative with what they could come up with. And to balance it somewhat, I thought that if a ring has a chance to proc electric effect onto an enemy, the more rings you have of, let's say, different variations of the same, the more rings you have, basically, the lower chance of the proc happening. So, for example, if you had like one ring, it would have 15% chance happening, but if you had 5 rings, then it would only have, let's say, 5% of happening, just to keep it balanced.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good addition. It would be a pretty good thing, because if you because armor is a bit restrictive, right? Because say that you get like an fire resistant armor that's like not good at much other things, like you're kind of stuck with that. But if you could get like a ring or something that gave you like lightning resistance, then you could be like good at resisting fire and lightning. So yeah, once again, just adds more to the whole like customization of your character and making your own build aspect of the game.
Yeah, as well, it would add to the fact of, making you allow yourself to be really, really defended against one type of an opponent which uses, let's say, a fire build. So, with all the, let's say, like the defense stacking onto each other, but as well, it would all allow you to be more protected overall against everything, and that would just give you the higher benefit of just traveling per se, because we don't know this yet, but let's say if monsters had a chance to like used elements as well as players, then having overall just more protective gear would be better for traveling, and more specialized gear could be used against 1v1s.
Yeah.
Our next topic is that we would like to see a black market system in the DeepOken. The reasoning for that, we came up with it, is because it would add a certain dynamic and would allow players to sell specific items which would not appear as valid to other NPCs.
So stolen items and such. And another thing is that yeah, it could also be like a way to prevent it could also be like a quality of life feature, because if you're in an island that is controlled by a faction that doesn't like you, you might be able to find a black market or an NPC in that area that also doesn't like that faction but pretends to be part of them or something. So you could like sell things or interact with NPCs in an area that doesn't particularly like you, while still keeping the dynamic of that faction not liking you.
Yeah, I think that would be like a good thing, because they did mention that the way you act will affect the way NPCs treat you. So, for example, if you're a murderer, they'll treat you like a murderer. So I think that because of it, some NPCs will either raise the price of their wares or lower it.
Yeah.
Depending on your race, let's say if you're a good guy, a bad guy. So I think if there was, let's say, a black marketer, it would allow the bad guys to, like the evil alignment, to basically have a shop without big like consequences, where it will allow them to sell and buy stuff for certain for set prices. Of course, like some of the items won't be available to the black marketer, because why would, let's say, a black market sell tomatoes? They would have to like go and farm it out themselves instead of buying it from a farmer NPC. And I also think that it would actually allow like certain dynamic where it would the black marketer could have a rare chance to sell a rare item, like a rare artifact. We don't know if artifact is going to be a thing, but let's hope.
A quote-unquote
or
artifact.
rare item, or like a rare resource, rare item, rare loot. And because of it, not only will they be valuable and also worth it to like seek out and just check them occasionally, but it would also allow players to quickly, if they look enough, to quickly to kind of speed up their progression instead of like farming out a certain item from a certain boss. They could occasionally find it in the black marketer because the other player sold it to him for a various amount of money.
Yeah.
And to add that, I also think that how evil alignment guys will have it normal price. I think that someone who is good with a good alignment should have the price raised, because if they going with the law, the black marketer NPC shouldn't really like them, as in want to trade with them and want to associate with them.
Yeah.
Another thing could be that depending on the race, the prices could change, but I don't think that it should affect black marketers. It should more affect normal NPCs.
Yeah.
So, for example, you know how the snake race is hated by everyone.
Yeah.
Then some NPCs would, to be fair, most NPCs will probably raise the prices for them. However, black marketers shouldn't, because they're in there for profit. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, they don't care about your race if they're trying to sell you like things that are stolen from other people.
Also, now that we're on about it, I think that another like cool, maybe that would probably be annoying to deal with, but another thing would be that so if the black market are gonna sell like a rare item, there could be a small chance, like really small chance, so let's say a 5% chance, that could be a counterfeit.
Oh.
And the way to realize it could be a counterfeit would be by the price they set. So let's say a item A has a set price of 1,000 to 2,000. Whatever the
and then they'd like sell it for like 800 or 2,200 or something. Like
yes, it would be overpriced or underpriced.
Yeah.
That would add like, because you would be able to notice it if you played the game for long enough. But if you're not careful, it will punish you for being naive.
Yeah, and it could also punish you for overusing the black market system too, if it's too overpowered.
That could be true if it was like they could like it could be like a trick mechanic where the more you use this one black marketer, the higher chance of it like having the counterfeit. Let's say it starts off at 1% and caps off at 10%.
Yeah, the guy will want to trick you more. Like he'll see, oh, this guy's buying from me often. If I try to trick him, he'll probably fall for it. I've been selling him real things so far.
Exactly. And and that could genuinely add like a good way people like watch out for what they do, and like add a certain like level of skill per se to see.
Yeah, it would make buying items. Yeah, it would make buying items and stuff like an actual mechanic rather than just like you go to the shop, you buy this item. it could be like, I gotta check out if it's a counterfeit or not. Like, you'll have to make sure, like, take note, what's this thing's average market price?
Yeah.
And like, could this potentially be a counterfeit?
Yep. I think that's another thing that could like affect it is your player stats. So let's say the charisma.
Yeah, I think charisma will definitely play a role into like
could make
NPC
having a higher
prices.
chance of lower price. Yeah, like let's say if you have a higher charisma to an NPC and you talk to them, there could be like an option for bartering and it will lower the price of the item.
Yeah.
But if there was like an option for that, I think for black marketers it would have like a lower chance of succeeding.
Yeah, because black marketers do tend to be pretty.
They have a set price. Yeah, they have a set price and they just don't care. Like you either buy.
Yeah, and they're pretty diplomatic too. Like they're in it for profit. They don't care what happens to you, or how much, or if you end up like overspending or anything. That shouldn't matter to them. They're black marketers. So the next topic is shop theft and reputation for being a thief. So to elaborate a bit on that, basically what I'm thinking is you should be able to steal from shops, and if you do steal from shops often, you'll like get a reputation for being a thief. So if you steal from too many shops and people start to notice, or they notice that you've been carrying a lot of, stolen items and things like that on you, then people might start noticing. Shopkeepers would be more alert. Maybe they'd get more guards to the shops if you're like in the town and such. So
yes, but I think how it should work is, let's say if you steal from only one place. For example, if you steal only one from, let's say, a town called Renova,
very creative name.
The more you steal, the more you steal from that place, the further like the knowledge of you being a thief would spread. So basically, let's say if you steal 20 times, let's say 30 times, 20 to 30 times from this shop, the local towns will know that you are a thief. And because of it, they may like pay close attention, and because of it, it will be harder for you to steal. And as you steal more and more and more, the more people in the Deepwoken world will know that you are a thief. And at certain point, like just the entire world, or let's say the entire a continent, could know that you are just a very bad thief, and because of it they may either not allow you to buy stuff from the shops, or even allow you or higher the prices, making it for you just basically having a harder gameplay for doing bad deeds.
Yeah, and I also think one interesting thing would be if you steal too much, maybe you could gain a flaw like becoming a kleptomaniac. So you'll end up like stealing items when you don't really mean to.
That could be actually an interesting mechanic. So if you do certain jobs, works, whatever, like certain actions, you'll gain certain flaws or boons. So let's say if you gain the being a pathological like thief, after, let's say if you max out the flaw of being a kleptomaniac or whatever you call it, then you'll have a 10% chance or higher to use basically your character to steal something without you actually wanting to steal. So let's say you walk past an item in a shop and then you just like steal it with like a short animation.
Yeah, and of course this would be like you'd have to steal a lot of things for your character to like have to do that. But it would also add on to like more character as well. Like if you're making a pretty much evil character.
It will also, then it would also like kind of add on into the ability, like it will add to the ability of like building up your character, as I said again. So if you, let's say, go with a fist build, which is probably gonna be one of the weak ones, if you, let's say, do punch a wall over and over time, like over and over again, I think you should gain like, let's say, Iron Fist. Iron Fist ability, which would basically allow you to deal more damage.
Yeah, or
with
something
your
like.
fist. I think
Yeah.
to like comprehend with that, like it should like so that would be a boon for your build. But to like let's say a flaw for it would be that you would be less effective with normal weapons.
Yeah.
So let's say it will give the more you level up your Iron Fist ability, it could lower the damage by percentage and more and more. And once you have it maxed out, let's say the flaw of you doing less damage should be like 20% from like white weapons, melee weapons.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I think like some abilities should like have just passive. So let's say if you max out your Iron Fist, you could like just gain the ability of parrying and let's say blocking with it without taking chip damage.
Yeah. So I also think this could work in PvP as well, like PvE as well, not PvP necessarily, not only PvP. So for example, if you tend to like catch a lot of big fish while fishing, maybe catching bigger fish would become easier. I mean, that is if fishing is even a mechanic when the game releases.
I'm pretty sure they mentioned it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said like it was planned and not like rogue fishing was. Oh wait, no, that was for boats. Whatever. Point still stands. If they do add some sort of fishing, then and you like do something, generally it would be like specific things. Like if you do specific things, like stealing, for example. If you steal too much, you'd become a kleptomaniac. If you punch a wall too much, you'd get like Iron Fist. If you fish like a lot of big fish, you'd be better at catching bigger ones. And of course,
Maybe
you
not
could
like
have
catch a lot of big fish, but if you just fish in general.
Yeah, that could work too. Yeah, but I feel like it should be more of a like small quirks that your character picks up on as you progress more through the game and your character ages and things. Like instead of just being like a general like you catch many fish, you become a better fisher. Because of course I assume that there'll be like, if there is a fishing system, I assume that there'll be like perks and stuff for fishing, like talents.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
so I feel like these things could be like small quirks that your character builds up as they live more, rather than like something like the quirks that the boons or flaws system.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, that's right. Like instead of it being like genuine like things, like quirks and flaws, it would just be like small like quirks that add into your build. Because kind of like
not necessarily even to your build. Sometimes mostly just to your character as a whole.
Yeah, because quirks, like the boons and flaws kind of technically change the way you play. Because let's say if your flaw is seasickness, you would probably genuinely want to spend less time on the sea and more on the land.
Yeah, and if you're like a vegetarian, you can only really eat plants, so you wouldn't be like trying to fish if you can fish, or like generally you wouldn't be trying to do a lot of things that would result in meat.
True, but fishing could be used for profit.
Yeah, I guess,
like,
if it is profitable.
Catch the fish, then let's say if you level up your EXP in fishing, then you'll get better fish and better for profit.
Yeah.
Rare fish, bigger fish, whatever.
So yeah, I guess if you're a vegetarian, you can sell off any meat that you get.
True. That actually would, like, the boons and flaws and the quirks you do, let's say certain jobs would actually like kind of boost the economy, because how in Rogue the economy is locked by finding trinkets, and trinkets were found out by like main trinket spots were found out by bots and players who like use them, and that's like now Rogue is in like this big silver crisis where it's really hard to like gain more than 1,000 unless you know a friend who has like a gigantic like bank account. And if they add more than one way for you to gain money, that would like prevent it somewhat, at least in some way, because it will still allow players not only to go out, explore, find the trinkets, but it also allows the players to just gain money more easy. Let's say they bought themselves a fishing rod, and the fishing rod costs 10 gold. With these 10 gold, he can gain himself like 500 gold if he found stuff.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure the devs have said that like there's like more ways to make money than just like hunting trinkets like there was in Rogue.
Yeah, but then again, it could also like depend. It could also actually add into the dynamic of traders, if you think about it, because let's say if on Island A there's a lot of people selling fish, so fish will be sold for less the next time.
Oh yeah, true. So if
that would be actually a really good thing to want to see. Like I want to see that in Deepwoken, where the marketplace for certain islands or cities is influenced by players. So basically, the more, let's say, you sell, the more item A you sell to the on island A, the less and less it will be worth over time. And if you, let's say, go to
that item will be in more of abundance in that island.
Yeah, and if you, let's say, to island B and sell the item A, it will be sold for more. Because over there, the people weren't just selling it as much because, let's say, it was just not worth it because the item A was just not found there.
Yeah.
I think that would actually like give the players like a reason to explore more than just sit in one place for like decades.
Yeah.
Because if they want to get richer, they will have to move from city to a city, instead of just sitting on one island, just farming out money till the richest being imaginable.
Yeah, it would much more encourage exploration rather than just sitting in one island until you get enough loot to like buy up basically your entire build.
Sure. And plus it will give the players more control over the world than in Rogue, because in Rogue players didn't really have any control over the world before.
Yeah, because this could mean like, if say that somebody's like a gem hunter or something, assuming that gems exist, and then you happen to also be a gem miner and you sell like a whole load of gems to like an island, and then the other guy comes in and tries to sell them, and they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, we just got like a shipment of gems, we'll buy them for really cheap if you want, but like we won't give you top prices.
Yeah, that would like
you'd actually be affecting the world.
Yes, it will like not only will be affecting the players but also the world, and just like make the world feel more alive than just, oh yeah, I'm a merchant, I buy stuff, give me money.
Yeah.
Another thing would be that if the prices or items a certain NPC sell vary on the season. So for example, let's say if on Island A again, you could find in winter you could find items which can only be found in winter. And let's say if a player, yes, for example, if a player managed to not die till, let's say, a summer or till summer, it would allow them to sell it for higher profit, because if the item is like somewhat needed, and it wouldn't be as it wouldn't be as available now because it just doesn't grow and you cannot find it anywhere because it grows in winter. Same dynamic could work with item A would be less valuable in winter, but it would be more valuable in summer because it just be rarer.
Yeah.
It would just add this like little like make the world feel more alive and just make it feel like you are in there, just making you like,
yeah, more like the world is existing rather than, and you are a part of it rather than you being the world and the players like being the world. Like the world actually exists around you rather than being you. And another thing, by the way, that you mentioned that made me think a little bit. So the sorcerer, I think, he confirmed so his time theory, right? He mentioned that like seasons would be a whole real life day long, right?
Well, that would be kind of short in my opinion. I think they should last at least a week.
Isn't that what he said? Like, isn't that what he said?
He said like a week. He said like a week or 2 weeks, somewhere like that. I think he said either it was a week or 4 days. I don't remember which one he mentioned. like a whole year would last 4 days, or was it a whole like?
Yeah, I think it was a whole year
season?
would last 4 days, so by that logic, a season would be 1 day. So
Yes, but in my opinion, it should be longer. Like, I don't want it to be as quick because then it would like
yeah, but
again add some value
here's
to
my
certain
question:
items.
will it be universal or will it be per server? Because if it is universal, then it would be interesting. Because like some people might feel like, oh, it's winter and I'm on like a really cold island. I don't want to play because I don't want to risk dying.
I think it should be universal. Like,
I mean, yeah, it should be universal because then you'd be like, it would add this unnatural feeling of like having to like server hop to reach like a season that you wanna play in. But
plus, like some of the islands could stay in like constant seasons. So let's say if you go into like a island, excuse me, which is like mainly composed of tall mountains, it would be snowy most of the time.
Yeah,
but if you find a tropical island, it would be staying warm like 90% of the time.
I'm pretty sure we actually saw that in like the first ever Q&A.
Yes, they were on a taller mountain.
Yeah, they were on a mountain and they said like the season switched, but it was still snowy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that just worked because they were on a mountain, but I think like not just certain locations, like certain whole islands should be, let's say, affected by it.
Yeah.
It would just like give off this, like, as I said, mentioned before, this feeling of the world being more alive. And then again, the season, I hope they manage to figure out the way how to make it universal. I don't know how will they be doing it via, like, let's say, updates or whatever. But if they manage to keep it as universal, it will just not only not mess up the market, but just keep the marketplace and constant.
Yeah, consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, consistent, and just make the players, let's say, be more active on certain days and just less active on others. Let's say if they're hunting for something, maybe that sounded bad, but you get my idea.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very appealing, but it could bring an interesting dynamic.
I mean, what I mean is like they would be not forced, but just like it would allow players to have more way to, let's say, just farm it out. Let's say a certain item, which is only, let's say, if there is a rare item only available in winter or summer. Let's say a volcano is like always near eruption in the summer every year. A certain mob would spawn there, and it's only available during summer because it's warm, like volcano. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
And because of it, if it was server based, like a lot of people could just jump from a server to server and just make it easier for themselves. However, if they made it universal, they would make the value of the item much it's more stable, much more stable than, instead of being like influenced into being practically worthless because they can just like jump from server to server and just gain it instantly. Yeah. It would actually want players to like farm out and just be there for when the times come.
Yeah.
Plus, it would just also allow like players to do some progress the characters while waiting for the opportunity. So let's say if they want to farm out a item A in the summer, but it's fall right now, they could just go off, like progress the character, be better at the game, and then just come back, defeating the monster much easier. Yeah. Just add this dynamic where like players wouldn't be forced into farming out. Just they could just go off and do whatever. Like it would be like different from Rogue, where once you want to do something, you got to farm it out. But if they made it this way, it just kind of would force people not to just farm out constantly and just go explore, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.